Sweet. Every 30 seconds, somebody in the United States divorces. That's 1 million divorces a year. You have a 40 to 50% chance of divorcing. Yes, even you. That means half the people who are sitting in this room will experience irreparable marital breakdown at some point in your lives. Most people simply do not have the marital skills required, the relationship skills, to work through the truly tough times that plague most modern marriages. And research suggests that many people can't get access to couples counselors that they so badly need because of the exorbitant cost, the inability to find a good couples counselor, or the feelings of shame and inadequacy that plague most people when they're trying to publicly pursue help. 58% of divorced people cite too much conflict and arguing as the main reason for their divorce, with the main sources of that conflict being things that we think are truly addressable with couples counseling, like inequality in the partnership or a sense of unrepresentation within their marriage. These are issues, like I said, the couples counseling is perfectly positioned to address. And surveys suggest, and research suggests over and over that between 70 to 90% of people experience overwhelming positive impact from couples counseling. That's why we're building Zuki, your on-demand couples counselor who's there when you need it in the comfort of your own home.
I am here to help you both understand each other better. What's on your mind?
I'm so upset that you left.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Zuki. I am here to help you both understand each other better. What's on your mind?
I'm so upset that you left your laundry on the floor again. How many times do I need to ask you to pick up your clothes?
It sounds like you're feeling frustrated about the laundry situation. Can you tell me more about how this makes you feel? And to the other partner, what are your thoughts on this?
It makes me feel my opinions don't matter, and I have to repeat myself over and over without being heard.
I hear that you feel unheard and that your opinions are not valued when you have to repeat yourself about the laundry. That must be really frustrating. To the other partner, how do you feel hearing this, and what's your perspective on the laundry situation?
Well, I don't want her to be frustrated, but I also don't want to be nagged every time I get home from a long day at work. I just want to relax and feel at home. If you give me a chance to relax for a while when I get home and don't nag me, I'll feel like picking up my own clothes.
It sounds like having some time to unwind after work would help you feel more inclined to pick up your clothes. This perspective is important. To the first partner, how do you feel about this idea? Could a compromise like this work for you?
Okay, if you pick up your clothes within an hour of coming home, I'll be okay with you taking an hour to unwind after.
That sounds like a constructive compromise. You're willing to give your partner some time to relax, with the understanding that the laundry will be taken care of within an hour after. To the other partner, does this solution feel fair and manageable to you?
Yes, that sounds great.
Now, this is just a preliminary version, but imagine a world where everyone has access to this kind of therapy on demand, no matter where they live, how much money they make. And with AI, that world is possible. Even people who have access to therapy, they're actually unable to go to the therapist often to be able to resolve small issues on time so they don't bubble up and become existential threats to the relationship. Now, here's our go-to-market strategy. While we think that there are tremendous benefits to going to consumer right away, well, we know B2C is hard, and there are huge challenges with that. For this reason, we've decided to go to therapists first and offer Zuki to therapists first so they can realize some benefits right away. First one is in between therapy sessions, and there could be a gap of a month, 2 weeks, a month and a half, really depends on a person's time, a couple's time availability, as well as cost. There's a black box that therapists don't have access to. So therapists will get summaries of what happened in between. And then the knowledge gaps that therapists have, they're human. They also have their own cognitive biases. And based on our user research, we've seen and heard that there have been instances where one person in the couple actually felt that there was a bias towards them or against them by the therapist, and there was projection by the therapist onto that person. And that's a huge problem, and that actually destroys relationships. So this will actually try to give some level of feedback that doesn't have the human bias of that one person. And overall, this will improve outcomes based on what we've heard from people. In this approach, customers will also get some benefit right away. It'll provide the on-demand aspect of the therapy, where when you're having a fight, when there's this communication breakdown, you don't just call a therapist and get the appointment. They're not available. They're not available for a month and a half. So you take it out, you kind of help yourselves and see if you can resolve it, and don't just go in circles. And summarizing those insights and then those going back to the therapist also makes the therapy very, very effective. So overall, it's better support for therapists and better outcomes for the patient. And what we will earn from this is just an ability to be able to collect all this data, look at all these conversations. We'll heavily rely on qualitative feedback, analyze these, and make sure our model refines, and then we have this trust that it works really well and it's not actually causing more damage. We want to prevent that at any cost. So this will actually give us some trust, as well as this oversight from the therapist, and also insights from therapists as well will go back into the model. So then we get to a point where we are going to market with consumers. We have built that reputation, we have the trust in the consumer, so then we can actually get this product to everyone, which is our end goal. So since we'll heavily rely on this feedback, we have already made sure in the last 4 days of interviewing about 20 people, and Katrina will go through all the feedback that she got.
Yeah, so like we said, we've talked to over 20 people and we've received really valuable feedback, but consistently across everybody we've spoken to, they've said the counseling is really good, right? And they're really excited about testing out the final product when it's available. Now, what I'm going to walk through in a minute is 3 representative samples from both patients or potential patients, as well as potential providers, that reflect the overall sentiment we heard across the board. The counseling is really good. This is solving a really important and urgent problem, and it's solving a problem that nobody is currently addressing today. So let's walk through these one by one. We spoke to a 50-year-old South Asian woman who said, the advice was extremely helpful. I think this is actually something I could get my husband to do with me, and he has been historically very resistant to traditional couples counseling. And then we spoke to a 25-year-old Asian American woman who said, I've been through lots of couples counseling, and this is just as good. And I have good couples counselor as well. I have friends who don't access couples counseling because they don't have the time available, and I think this would really work within their lifestyle. And third, we spoke to a male Caucasian in his 20s who said, I can see this being really helpful for all those day-to-day fights, right? The stuff that I'm never going to call a professional for, and I'm certainly not going to pay the money for. So again, these are 3 examples from potential patients, but it reflects the overall sentiment. And then we also talk to providers, because that's important, because again, we're providing value not only to patients, but the therapists as well. The first couples counselor we talked to said, I would love to have help with the support in between sessions. A lot of time goes by, I don't really know what happens, and a lot happens within the context of a marriage in that window. Again, it's illuminating that black box in between those sessions. And if it could provide me insights to empower me within my own in-office appointments, that would be even better. So she said I could see this being very helpful to not only me, but to my patients as well. And then we spoke to a psychiatrist with over 30 years of experience in mental health, and she said, I don't know anything about AI, but whoever that was, she was really good. And she said I could see this being valuable for, again, therapists and for patients. And then we talked to a third couples counselor, and they said, what you're building is really valuable. I can't wait to get my hands on it in my own practice. So we see Zuki as having the potential to dramatically reduce divorce rates. As you know, we're at 40 to 50%. Maybe we can save some of your marriages. In addition to improving millions of relationships, and most importantly, we know Zuki can ensure that families around the world can achieve the stability and happiness that they really deserve. Thank you. Oh, so all right, so who are we aside from three pretty faces? We have product expertise, we have technical expertise, and we have sales expertise. So we're truly representative, and I think we all really like each other too. Do we like each other?
I think so.
Although I have to say, if I had to admit, I'm a little bit partial to my fellow Canadians. All right, what haven't we answered?
Okay, any questions in the room? Yes, we'll start here.
Can you talk more about your go-to-market strategy? It sounded like you didn't want to do B2C, and then you were going towards through like the provider route as some form of a benefit in between sessions. I was just like looking at a few of the things that you mentioned, but it seems like there was a like, you know, people didn't want to have a very high willingness to pay, but you're appealing to an audience that is already paying a large amount of money, and maybe not everybody would be using it. So I'm thinking the market might be a lot smaller. Just help me understand how you think about it.
Yeah. In that case, it would actually be the therapist pay, right? So we would start by offering it for free to therapists so we could accumulate a lot of data to train our models, and that would be a unique go-to-market approach. But we could imagine a world where if you exceed 10 hours of use for the month, right, you're getting so much value out of it, your patients are getting so much value of it, you pay us even more. Because ultimately, if your therapy sessions are successful, your patients are going to come more often, you're going to get more patients. So we would be marketing to therapists who have more money than the patients.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Instead of divorces, is there a way you can apply this simply to businesses? Because I also worry really about how you sell this to consumers and
Other familial relationships, they could benefit from this. Businesses as well, if there's, you know, agreement from both parties, mediating something.
So for the feature wise, do you guys consider have a feature where you had the last the history of the result from the last time?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then in future can review what happened and what's improved for the marriage, because
Yeah.
I think the true reason for you to solve the problem is truly improve the relationship, and it's better people can see that.
Absolutely. So that is definitely in the roadmap, and that is definitely in the roadmap, and that is part of what we mean by insights and analysis. We will be kind of creating this historical context and also calling out what was the advice given, what happened, what did they say in subsequent sessions, and also make sure there's entity mappings. If they talked about their brother, if that was the cause, and a situation. So all of this is going to help also augment the therapist. Even the most expert therapist is human. We're trying to help them be a little bit superhuman and get to a good resolution for their patients.
I think we have time for maybe two more questions.
I thought of this when you mentioned giving this away for free to the therapists to gather data. Have you thought about privacy? And these are medical records and people's intimate thoughts, and usually it's therapist notes on paper, but you're using this for training data.
Oh.
Oh no. Yes, absolutely. The question was around privacy, and yeah, these are medical documents. We will be anonymizing this data and running it through PII checkers when we are trying to get aggregate learnings out of it and use it for our common application and model improvements. We're also looking into down the line using the specifics of it for those particular couples, and if that is something that they all sign up and agree to, we could do a very good job there. But yeah, obviously we will make sure that we take into account all the regulations and requirements there anytime we generalize it.
We were given recommendations on who those advisors could be this weekend. So both on the legal side and on the privacy side. The great thing about being a part of the Inception organization is they know everybody and they've got connections for any problem that you want to try to solve.
And I have personally worked on a couple of products before that I've led that we had to be HIPAA compliant. So I have
Cool. Okay. Time for one last question. Anyone in the room? There we go.
My experience with therapy is that the greatest value often comes from insights that the therapist has that are not based on the words that you're saying, but what you're not saying. And I'm wondering whether your software will actually be able to tease that out, or it's purely a text-based sort of like call and response.
Yeah, it would be text-based to start, but I can
Okay.
imagine including like facial
Nonverbals and-
eventually as well. Yeah, and I think while that is a huge benefit of therapy, I think that there's a lot that the therapists miss as well. There's a lot that they miss because one, you can only pay attention to so much in sessions. Two, you see like 12 to 14 people a day. And like, I've seen my therapist confuse my dad with my ex-boyfriend, right? Like this stuff happens all of the time. So I think it both catches things that humans don't catch, identifies patterns over time that humans don't identify, and we can work on incorporating facial recognition and all that means for the context of therapy as well.
And even to start with, we will be going audio on, so we will be tracking sentiment, the emotions in the audio, and things that maybe therapist is missing in point in time, but go back and say, this is something you might want to take a note of.